I'm Jimmy from Distorted Perception. Welcome back to the channel. In today's video, I am going to show you how to build a Frankenkit from scratch, and then I'm going to show you my personal Frankenkit. And how I got the sound you just heard in the beginning there. I did a previous video on how to route Kontakt drums. You're going to need that information before you build a Frankenkit, so I'm going to leave that video up there. But without further ado, let's get into the DAW and build a Frankenkit from scratch. Okay, here we are in a blank session. First thing we're going to do is open Kontakt. So now that we open Kontakt, we're going to open our first drum plugin of choice. So now we have our first plugin of choice. I like the default kit from Mixwave Gojira. So we're gonna make sure that in our outputs, we have everything labeled: stereo, kick, snare, all of our toms, hi-hat, ride, splash, stack, FX, overhead, room, and verb. That's how I like to label it. You can label it however you want. We have our outputs open. Make sure we have everything labeled the way we want. Make sure we plus this exclamation so everything is updated. Open our FX window, right click, build multi-channel routing for output of selected effects. It's going to ask you if you want to do this. Click yes, close, close. And as you can see, everything's pre-labeled: stereo, kick, snare. We get over here to where we don't need these. Come all the way over here to 17, delete. And now we have our stereo, kick, snare, tom. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We have everything we need to start routing this out, but we are building a Frankenkit. So let's just say we wanted to add Mike Mangini. So I loaded a couple different kits, didn't touch anything. So we have Gojira, we got Mike Mangini, and we got P5, right? All in startup. What we want to do is click on this little eye, make sure they are set to Omni. So I have it preset so it automatically starts up as Omni, but I think by default it doesn't. So you just want to make sure these are all set to Omni, and then you want to pick and choose what pieces you want from each, and then you go over to the view here and you send them where you want them. And then once you do all that, set them where you want them. And then you want to go to the settings page and you want to make sure you want your MIDI mapping set so it controls what you want it to control. And that's how you start a Frankenkit. So that was just a quick rundown. And then now I will get into my Frankenkit. So here we are in the DAW, and I am going to go over my personal favorite Frankenkit. So this is a blend of Krimh Drums, P5, and Mixwave Gojira. So 3 separate companies, and the idea is to take the pieces that I like from each kit and build one super kit. So you heard in the opening a little snippet. Let me play it for you real quick. So you can hear that it sounds huge, and it all sounds like one kit. So I'll quickly go over what I am using from each. So I really love the cymbals and the snare from Krimh's. So we got our crashes, our China left, our China right. We have our ride, and then splash 1 and splash 2. And then I have the snare, which is the Kenny Beauty. Like the way that sounds, it's nice and crisp. It's got some body to it. It's also got a nice ring to it. I like a little ring in the snare, and Krimh has the best ring out of all the drum libraries to me. And then I have it blended with the snare from P5, which is this Matt Halpern signature low, and that's to add some pop and some beef. Gives me that nice pop and beef. Then I'm using the hi-hat, another one of the little splashes here. We have the 18-inch Menno Bayans traditional polyphonic crash. We have this 21-inch Matt Halpern signature double down crash ride, and the 17/18 Matt Halpern signature double stack. So that is it for these two, and that accounts for all the cymbals. Now, what I absolutely love with this Mixwave Gojira is the shells, the kicks, and all the toms. That's stinky. Just a deep, punchy kick drum. And that's just the only kick they have. But it sounds so good. And then they added these timbales in an update. Then we have rack tom 1, rack tom 2, and the floor tom. So those are the pieces I'm choosing, and the only ones that I'm actually blending is the snare. If I hit play here. They're both being sent to this snare track. And then I have the FG73 just until it touches that red a little bit. Then I have this gate, just kind of cuts out. Even though I like the ring, I don't want it to ring out too much. I have a Pro Q, giving it a nice smiley face curve. Here, if I take this off. Sounds pretty good. But put that, it gives me a nice controlled sound. And I'm also bumping up a little bit of the fundamental here at 156. And then immediately cutting after to get out some of that extra ring. You can hear how much extra ring is in there if I don't cut that out. And then that is going into a little bit of compression. FG401. Doing about 7 to 10 dB of compression on there with a pretty slow attack, fast release. Then I like this custom series lift and just giving it that. You can hear how dark that is if I don't have that high lift on there. And that lets it cut through the mix. And then a little bit more saturation with this Hollywood virtual tube. And you want it to just start hitting that red. And that's going to cut down on that transient and get everything nice and even. And that's both of those snares, the P5 snare and the Krimh drum snare. If we look at the mixer, you can see how I have everything sent out to its actual track. I have the snare bottom way down. I have the snare trigger up at unity. The snare bottom way down. And then for the P5, I have that also at unity, and then the snare bottom way down, and you can see I have it sent to this to snare track. So that's it for the snare. It's such a good kick that I don't have to do a whole lot. I just have some multi-band to cut down the very, very low end, set to 69. And that's just to get some of the super deep low end out of there that we don't need. And then I'm cutting out some more low end and bumping up around 4500 just get a little extra click out of there. See if I take that off. Don't have quite the click I need. That just gives me a little extra click to cut through a mix. And then I have this kick reso on Soothe 2 just to get out some of the extra junk and clean it up even more. Yeah. And that's it for the kick. As far as the toms go, all I do is put a limiter on it, and that's it. They already sound so good coming out of Gojira. You just want to even them out, so I put the limiter on there just to make sure that they all stay even. Don't want to mess if it already sounds good. Don't want to over process. For the room, I just have a little drum room harshness on Soothe. Take out some resonance. And then I put a little drum room tight fat, and then have the mix set to 61%. That's what the rooms sound like without my verb on there. Put that back on, and boom, we get a nice, and it just glues everything together. You get a nice wide sound out of the drums. Yeah, you can hear the difference there. That's it for the rooms. And then for the brass, it's pretty simple. Just take out a lot of the junk. I like darker sounding cymbals, and I like my snare to come through in my overheads, so you can hear a lot of snare in there. But I do put this compressor on there to even that snare out. And to even the cymbal hits out. This keeps everything nice and tight in the overheads. It gives you a nice consistent sound. And then good old Soothe again on the Nolly cymbal smooth. You don't have to mess with it. Just adjust your depth. Right around 12 o'clock, it always seems to be pretty good for me. Just cleans it up. So that's it. As you can see, I do very minimal processing. These plugins are built to sound really good out of the box, and they're already highly processed. So you don't want to go too crazy and process the ever-loving shit out of them. But I do, on my drum bus, I have one thing. And you can see I named this Nolly Parallel Compression and EQ. So if you watched any of Nolly videos, you'll probably have seen this parallel EQ trick, and it's just an attack between 8.5 and 9, the release on 2, and 20 to 1 with the high pass filter, the mid bump, and then the mix set to about 30%, and that just gives us a nice parallel compression sound. And then we have these FGN and the custom series equalizer, and around 6K, about a 4 dB bump, 110, 100 hertz. I have a 2 dB bump, and 12K, I have a 1.4 bump. See if I turn this off. Does quite a lot. Then I always put this trimmer on here, make sure I cut back and keep myself from clipping. Then I go into an instrument bus. Here's another little nollie trick, his fast attack to put that, keep that snare nice and tight in the mix. With that FG red trick he does to give it a little bit more excitement. And then I like to put this center plug-in from Waves on here and just bump up the sides, and that gets the guitars and the cymbals wider, and that is it. So that is my custom Frankenkit, which has a mix of Krimhs, P5, and Gojira. This is my go-to kit. I can pick and choose through pieces as I see fit, but this is pretty much my go-to on all new projects I'm working on, and then I adjust it accordingly. Just to recap, you want to make sure you're on this I, and you have these MIDI channels set to Omni. So you can see they're all set to Omni, and that will allow you to stack as many different plugins in here as you want, and you can pick and choose. I like, if I'm not using them, to unload them, so it's a easy visual for me to see what pieces I'm using and which ones I'm not. Make sure I'm not getting any bleed and any overhead. So I do, one other thing is I have, these are labeled wrong, but stack is overhead, room is a FX, but I have all the overheads and rooms from all three plugins all going to the same overheads and rooms, and that way all the overheads and rooms blend together. You process them all as one, and you get a nice wide full drum sound. Let's see if we go to a verse here. Even though it's three different kits, it sounds like it's all one uniform kit, and that's what you're going for. So that is my Frankenkit and how to build one, and my personal kit. Hope this was helpful. Like, comment, subscribe. See you on the next one.